So let us conclude this wonderful year, 2023, with the blessing for ourselves and for each other. So please join me. May I be peaceful. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well and strong. May I be happy. And now let's extend this blessing to each and every person here with us in the sanctuary, each and every person joining us online, and in fact, each and every person on this beautiful earth of ours. And as we do that, look around and offer that blessing to each other. May you be peaceful. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well and strong. May you be happy. So we take these blessings in, we extend them, and we honor the power and the presence that is God, that is always with us, and we say thank you. Thank you, God. Amen.
And now you're already doing it. I was going to say you may now be seated, but you took care of that for me. Welcome, everybody, to Unity of the Valley Spiritual Center. It's New Year's Eve, and you know what that means. It's almost Christmas again. So, and it's going to feel that way because we have a lot of Christmas songs that are yet to be sung on this Sunday, and we'll discuss why that is. And it's still the Christmas season, so I hope everybody rejoices and still is keeping that glow within them. And as we like to do each and every Sunday, we like to light the Christ candle. And this morning, I went out to the lobby, and some young people came in, and I spoke to a young person. I said, I need somebody to light the Christ candle. She said, I'll do it. So I want each of us to kind of take that enthusiasm and spirit into our new year, because that's going to be the theme. And so Bree is going to come up with me, and we're going to light the Christ candle together. Come on up, Bree. Now she's not, I don't see that enthusiasm. I mean, she was jumping up and down. Now she looks scared. You've done this many times with me before, and you do it beautifully and perfectly. And you know, Bree, there's a gentleman named Charles Fillmore, and he was the co-founder of Unity. And he wrote something down that's been stated many times in our center here. In his 90s, he said, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm for that which is mine to do today. Something along that lines. But it was, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm. And Bree doesn't fairly sizzle. She really sizzles on high, don't you, Bree? Say yes. All right. Okay. So we're going to give Bree her own special blessing. Will you repeat with me the words that are on the board to Bree? Bree, you are a beautiful child of God, perfect in every way. You are loved unconditionally, just the way you are. Now, if it's true for Bree, it's true for each and every one of us. Now repeat, I am a beautiful child of God, perfect in every way. I am loved unconditionally, just the way I am. And I'm going to invite any other young people that want to come forward. I see one other. Mina's coming up with zeal and enthusiasm and sizzling. She really has it. She just hides it a little bit. And now we're all going to sing to Bree and Mina. The words are up on the board. You can take a seat and relax and welcome each and every one of you. If you're here for the first time, we'd like to say welcome home. And we invite you to stay after the service. We have refreshments in our social hall just across the way. We'd love to talk to you. If you have any questions about Unity of the Valley, just ask somebody. And if they don't have the answer, they'll find somebody who does. My name's Paul Whitney. I'm the platform assistant this morning. And our talk is being given by our senior minister, Reverend Dalia Adams. And our Christmas music is being provided by our very own Gina Fries. So thank you all for being here this morning. It's going to be a great New Year's Eve celebration because we have our melting bowl ceremony. For those of you that have been around for a while, it's a very special thing we do each and every new year. Each and every Sunday we have a chaplain that's kind of on duty to serve you. Pat Flores is standing. She has this beautiful white stole. She'll be available in the sanctuary after the service to offer you prayer in full confidence for anything that may be weighing heavy on your heart or a celebration that you would like to share. So please make good use of Pat's time. It's a very short announcement list this Sunday. On January 13th, on Saturday, from 10 to 3, we have a new member class going on. Now, what the new member class entails, it tells you a little bit about the history of Unity and what membership entails. Membership is required for you to vote at our annual meeting. If you want to be a member, you have to take the class, but you don't have to become a member to take the class. So if you're just curious and want to deepen your understanding about our spiritual community, you can attend the class with no obligation. And you can just show up if you want a free lunch, because lunch is going to be provided. But the office does need to know how many people are going to show up for that class. So please let the office know if you plan on attending. And as we like to do each and every Sunday, and I'd like to start the new year off, New Year's is always about resolutions, right? Or letting go and taking on. But all those resolutions have to be built on a firm foundation. So let's make this our foundation for the coming year, 2024. So with me together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the Good.
Shall we stand? Sing Angels We Have Heard on High. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Come to Bethlehem and see him whose birth the angels sing. Come adore on bended knee Christ the Lord, the newborn King. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So good to see each and every smiling face. Welcome, glad you're here. The last day of 2023. How did it happen? I keep thinking no one asked my permission to make the year go so fast. Nobody checked in and say, hey, are you okay with this? But we have a new year beginning tomorrow. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. May the year be filled with joy, enthusiasm, peace, love, health, and all things good. Sometimes, even during the difficult moments, if we can find moments of love, find moments of peace, find moments of joy, that's good enough. So this last day of 2023, we are going to focus on letting go. What are the things that stand in our way from experiencing that joy? What are the things that block the love? What are the things that we would feel so relieved to release, to let go? It's like Paul was explaining about little Bree, the enthusiasm that she showed when she was first asked to do something, and then by the time she made it up here, the fear took over. And isn't that it like that for each and every one of us? We have an idea or an intention or a commitment, and we're going to be more loving to our family or to our partner, or we're going to be more diligent in our work, and we're going to accomplish so much, and all that enthusiasm wells up, and the next thing you know, we're scared, or we feel hurt, or we feel deflated, and there it is. So that's how we move through life, and part of what we can do and what we're able to do is to choose to release the fear. Choose to release everything that is standing in our way. Choose to release whatever it is that makes our hearts contract, constrict, and close up. Because it sure feels better to live each day with that enthusiasm, doesn't it? With that joy, with that love. And so when we let go of the things that stand in our way, we make room for truth with a capital T. And truth with a capital T is that we are children of God. We are expressions of the divine. We have a spark of the divine with us, within us, expressing as us. Whatever wording speaks to your heart, the truth is that there is more to us than meets the eye. That divinity within us is the truth of us. And so there is a light, a Christ light that shines through us when we are able to be all that we are meant to be. There is a prayer that's known throughout the world, at least throughout the Christian world, that's been called the Lord's Prayer by some people, and it goes by other names at times too. And at the end of the prayer are the words, "And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." Now, Jesus spoke in Aramaic, and his words were not recorded for a couple hundred years. And when they were recorded, they were translated into the Greek, because the Bible was written in Greek, not in Aramaic. And then it was translated from the Greek to whatever other language, German, English. So by the time it came down to us, that's the general gist of what he was saying. But there are other ways of understanding what he said at the end of the prayer, and there's a man, a scholar, an Aramaic scholar named Neil Douglas Klotz, who has suggested alternative translations for each line of the Lord's Prayer, because the Aramaic language is very poetic. And if you've ever read a poem, you know that there are layers of meaning for each line. And what you do is you grab onto the layer of meaning that speaks to your heart. And there can be 3 or 4 people reading that poem, each having the right understanding, but maybe not exactly the same understanding. Well, Neil Douglas Klotz said that those words at the end of the prayer, translated from the Aramaic, could also be expressed this way: break the hold of inner stagnation and free us from that which keeps us from our true purpose. Now that layer of meaning speaks more to my heart, and I like it. And so I've grabbed hold of that. Let me read it again. Break the hold of inner stagnation and free us from that which keeps us from our true purpose. Do you know that feeling of inner stagnation? That feeling of some days going, oh no, this is another day. Or, oh gosh, I don't know if I could get through this. Or, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I'm so tired. I don't know how I'm going to make it through. That's that feeling of inner stagnation. So in the prayer, we look to that divine presence within us and around us, and we say, be my strength to break the hold of this inner stagnation. And allow me to be who I am meant to be. Allow me to shine as the light of God. Allow me to be the love of God to each and every person that I meet today, to my family, to my friends, to the people in the world who are suffering and longing for love. What a powerful prayer. So this ceremony that we're going to do later on in the service during our meditation, this melting bowl is a ceremony in which you will have written down one, maybe two of the things that are bringing about this inner stagnation, that are blocks to your joy. Maybe it's anger at someone or at yourself. Or maybe it's that self-critic gone wild. I don't know if any of you have a self-critic, let alone one that goes wild. I've got one. So you will be writing down one thing that you would like to release, maybe two things. They're small pieces of paper, so you probably can't write them all down. Or you might just write God, and you will drop that into the water. The paper is paper that melts, and all of those things melt away in the bowl, and symbolically, they melt away from your consciousness, from your hearts. And this is so aligned with Unity teachings. The very first book written for the Unity movement was by Dr. Emily Haiti. And it's called Lessons in Truth, and her very first chapter in that book is titled Freedom or Bondage Which? So the Unity movement's literature began with this idea, and what we always encourage, what we teach, is to choose freedom, to release that which keeps us in bondage. And so freedom is freedom to be, to do, to be all that we want to be, but it begins with freedom from the things that hold us down. Freedom from being enslaved by things like sadness, grief, woundedness, hurt, doubt, fear, negative beliefs, sometimes the stories we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves a story that I'm not good enough. There is no way I will ever be able to do this. And why do people expect me to do more than I can do? I wish I could do more, but I know I can't. Isn't that a story that at least you know of other people telling themselves? It's a story that I have told myself in a number of different situations, and I was wrong. I went ahead, did all of those things that I was telling myself I could never do. When I was working as a psychologist, we would work with the stories people were telling themselves. And sometimes the stories had people so locked down in misery. And once we had the story down pat, I would look at the person that I was working with, and I said, how true is this story? And for the people that were numerically minded, I'd say, rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 is absolutely true, and 0 is not true at all. And most of the time, people would rate it at a 2 or a 3. So here was this story that was creating deep misery for them, heartbreak. And it was only a little bit true. There was only a little bit of truth in it, and yet we tend to hang on to those stories for dear life. But once we recognize that, no, this is not the truth of me, or maybe it's only a little bit true about me, but there's this bigger truth of me that I want to claim, we can write down my story about blank and release it, or make that choice to release it. In Unity, we talk a lot about changing what we think, changing our beliefs, changing the stories we tell ourselves, but what we skip oftentimes is this process of releasing, This process of letting go of that which doesn't serve us must always begin with love. It can be a very harsh practice if it's not a loving practice. So if I'm choosing to release this story that's been this hurt deep in my heart, for some reason I latched onto that. And if I simply come in with this inner critic who's holding a whip and saying, okay, start thinking differently, it's a very different experience from saying, oh, wow, there is something inside of me that's calling for love. There is something inside of me that is calling for strength, for support, for comfort. And let me begin by embracing myself and honoring that whatever made me create that story and hold on to it was simply trying to protect me in some way. Maybe protect me from failure or protect me from judgment. But whatever that was that made me create that story, I honor and love myself for that effort to take care of myself. But I am going to lovingly release that story because it is mostly not true. That's very different from letting the inner critic go haywire with that whip, right? So whatever we do, however we choose to release something, it begins with love, and there is a loving process throughout. So in this meditation that's going to precede the ceremony, I will be asking you, what is within you? What is calling for love? What is asking to be supported? What is asking for strength, for comfort? What is asking for love? And I will give a few moments of silence so you can listen for the answer. Sometimes what we're needing to release is that which has not yet been forgiven. Does everyone know what it feels like to not forgive? Yeah, and it can be strong, huh? It can tighten up every muscle in our body and make us want to fight. Whether or not we've decided for some odd reason not to forgive ourselves, or maybe not to forgive someone else, or maybe not to forgive our politicians, or not to forgive whoever or whatever in our world. And Jesus was a very, very wise teacher. He was asked by one of his disciples, how many times shall I forgive? And I cut out some words to make them fit. And the disciple asked, am I supposed to forgive up to 7 times? And 7 back then was symbolically the number of completion. So the disciple was asking, do I have to forgive until the forgiveness is complete? And Jesus said, I tell you not 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. In other words, he's saying you will forgive till it is complete, and you will wake up one morning and there it is again. So you will forgive until it's complete, and then a few mornings later you wake up and there it is again. I don't know if anybody's ever experienced that, right? So the teaching is to keep forgiving. Even if it seems like it's taking forever, just keep forgiving. Each moment of forgiveness is rest for your heart. Each moment of forgiveness opens you to that peace that passes all understanding. So again, in this ceremony that we will be doing, I will ask again, what is calling for love? What is asking to be forgiven? And then there will be a little bit of silence. You listen for the answer. And if no answer comes up, that's okay. When you're driving home or doing the dishes, it'll come up then. Once you put that question out there, the answer will come. And Jesus also taught, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. One of the ways we block our good and keep ourselves from knowing the truth, the magnificent truth of who we are, is because of fear. We become afraid of not being good enough. We become afraid of not being able to do something well enough. We become afraid that someone might judge us. We become afraid of being a failure. We become afraid of not being worthy. On and on and on. And what Jesus is saying is, in those moments, have you ever been afraid and just told the fear to go away? I've tried. It doesn't work for me. Has it worked for anybody? So instead of fighting the fear, the doubt, we turn to our strength. And our strength is the presence of God within us. Our strength is the Christ within each and every one of us. And Jesus is saying not to yoke ourselves to the historical Jesus, the man, but Jesus, the Christ, to yoke ourselves, to turn to the Christ. For when we do, then the burden becomes light. Then our strength fills us, and whatever we are so afraid of becomes smaller. I've shared this story several times from the platform. I went through a time in my life where there were a lot of changes on so many levels, and I became depressed. You know, we become depressed when our lives seem to be coming apart. And I would wake up every morning and I would sit in this magnificent room with the picture window overlooking an orchard, and the sun would rise from behind the apple trees. And I'd sit there not wanting to live, essentially. And what would happen is I would get this image, and I don't know where the image came from, but of a little tiny person that was me, and this big, deep pit that had muddy, slick walls and mud on the bottom, and I was stuck in the mud in the bottom of this pit. And this little person that was me would try to climb out of the pit, and then I'd slide back down. And it was the same every morning. You know, what a way to start the day. And one day, I was sitting there watching my little movie, and I noticed after a while that little person got a little bit bigger. And then I focused on the fact that this little person was growing. And that little person that was me kept growing very slowly. But I was paying attention. And that little person that was me kept growing larger and larger and larger and larger. And pretty soon I was standing on a sidewalk, and I looked down at a crack in the sidewalk. And that was my very deep pit. I was now so much larger than this horrific, deep, not bottomless, but deep and dark pit that I had been stuck in. The depression was gone, never came back. And moments when I start feeling small, I remember that image of me standing there looking down at the crack in the sidewalk. And that was the pit that had me trapped. And that's the truth of us. We are great beings of light. We are of God. We are of the creator of the universe. We are one with that creative presence, with that infinite love. And whatever feels like that bottomless pit, ultimately, is a crack in the sidewalk. And you don't force it. You simply love yourself and allow that the truth might be a little different. You allow that growth. You don't force it. You don't let the inner critic stand there and saying, okay, grow, grow. I said, grow now. You know, you allow it. And you yoke yourself to that Christ presence, for Christ is all light and all love. And you allow that light and love to be the truth of you. And this same principle is used by the 12-step programs. You know, Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, Narcotics Anonymous, Nar-Anon, just many, many 12-step programs. And they all share 12 steps of recovery. The first step is that moment of realizing that whatever the addiction, whatever the issue, it is so much bigger than me. I can't control it. I'm helpless in the face of it. Kind of me at the bottom of that pit. But the second step that follows it is came to believe that a power greater than myself. So it's latching onto that Christ presence if you're Christian, the Bodhisattva if you're Buddhist, that divinity that is within you, that surrounds you, that is greater than that small sense of myself that I have sometimes. And when I come to believe that power, the third step says I surrender to it, which is what Jesus meant when Jesus said, yoke yourself to me, to the Christ. So again, in this ceremony, I will be asking, what is calling for love? What is asking you to place your trust in God? That thing that you're holding on to that you're going to solve all by yourself, right? What is asking to say, okay, give it to God? It's gotten clear that it's bigger than you, so give it to God. And it takes trust, and sometimes trust is a process. So today I choose to trust. And maybe I will trust for 5 minutes. And tomorrow I will choose to trust again. And if I keep choosing to trust, that trust grows. Emily Cady in that book, Lessons in Truth, wrote, do not be in bondage to false beliefs about your circumstances. Don't be in bondage to false beliefs about yourself, about others. And these are those stories that we tell ourselves. The ones that my clients back in my psychotherapy days told me were usually true at a level of 2 or 3. But they revolve their lives around these stories, right? So in this ceremony, what is calling for love? What stories are you telling about yourself that it would be better to release? What stories are you telling about others that it would be better to release? What stories are you telling about your circumstances that it would serve you well to release? So this freedom we're claiming for today is freedom from all of the blocks to our good. This list is just a starting point. So whatever comes up for you that is asking to be released, that's the right thing. Once upon a time, I had a bird, a most amazing bird, and I was the most inexperienced and ignorant bird owner on the face of the earth. It's a long story, but the way I got the bird was not very wise or smart, and this is the self-critic, right? But the bird was amazing, and she was a wonderful teacher for me. Her name was Kona. And like all birds at night, they like to have dark and quiet. And I would cover her cage with a blanket, and she would sleep quietly. But in the mornings when I got up, she was in my office, so she wasn't in the main part of the house, but she would hear me moving around. And she talked. I mean, she talked beautifully. And she knew what she was saying. She wasn't just. And so I'm moving around, and I could hear her quietly, "Want to come out?" And if I didn't get there right away, she would repeat it, but a little louder. "Want to come out?" And if I didn't get there soon, it would come up one more time, but louder. "Want to come out?" And it would get increasingly louder. As she would pause, she'd give me time to get there. Until, has anybody ever heard a macaw screeching? Okay, full blast, that all the neighbors want to come out, and I'm not going to try to do it. So I would get there, and if she got to the point of screaming it, she was in a frenzy. And her wings were stretched. She was, not in a happy mood. I'd take the blanket off. I would open up the cage door, and she was fully capable of coming out once the door was open. She'd sit there screaming, "Want to come out," with the cage door wide open for 5-6 minutes, and you didn't reach your arm in to help her out when she's in a frenzy. So she had to figure it out on her own. But it was a reminder to me that internally I screamed that I want out of this. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to be in this experience. But the cage door is wide open. And all I need to do is let go of the screaming, find that peace within me, and come out. I think that might be true for all of us. Rumi said, "You have escaped the cage. Your wings are stretched out. Now fly." So that's the directive for 2024. Today is about escaping the cage. It's about recognizing that that door is wide open. And then we will all fly. And so it is. And so now we go into our time of meditation. I invite you to sit comfortably. Allow your breath to find its own easy and natural rhythm. For a little while, simply rest your attention on the movement of your breath, remembering that each breath is the breath of God, the breath of life that moves through you in this moment. Gently notice how your breath feels when you breathe in and when you breathe out. You may even notice how each breath takes you deeper within. Deeper into your heart space, that sacred space within you, where you feel, where you experience the presence that is God. And in the presence, the divine presence, hold this question: what in you is calling for love? What is calling for strength, for support, for comfort? And if you hear an answer, feel free to write it on your little piece of paper. Ask yourself, what is asking to be forgiven? Again, if an answer comes, feel free to write it on that little piece of paper. What is calling for love, for strength, for courage? What is asking you to place your trust in God? What is it that you would like to dissolve, to let go? What is calling for love? What stories are asking to be released? What stories that you tell yourself about yourself are best just dissolved? What stories that you tell yourself about others are best released? What is it within you that is calling for love? Hold these questions for a little while in the silence and write the answers that come to you. And so now I call forward our prayer chaplain, Pat Flores. Just stand next to the bowl. Stand next to the stir the water. And then our ushers will help you come forward. Bring your little slip of paper and place it in the water. And pause between persons so that the one before you has a chance to begin melting. And so we are so very grateful. We are very grateful that the truth of us now shines. We are grateful for the Christ presence within us. We are grateful for the love and the joy and the peace that is God's presence in our lives. We are grateful that we express the love and the light of the Christ. We are grateful to know that 70 times 7 times we can release whatever stands in our way. And we shine brightly, and we are grateful, and we say thank you together. Thank you, God. Amen.
Our usher is coming forward because it's that time where we bless our own abundance. We acknowledge that we, meaning all of us in this room and through our greater community, are the church. We comprise the church. We make it through our time, talents, and treasures so that this church can flourish. There are many ways to give. You can text the word give to this number that's up on the board. You can go to our website, press on the donate button. Or if you're so inclined, you can take something in your hand, give it this blessing that we're going to do in 1 minute, and put it in the basket as Jennifer comes around. So together, let's bless our tithes and offerings. God's love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, all that I give and receive. I am grateful.
Shall we stand and sing, Go Tell It on the Mountain? Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ was born. While shepherds keep their watching over silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens that shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth rang out the angels' chorus that hailed our Savior's birth. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in the lowly manger, our humble Christ was born, and brought us all salvation, the blessed Christmas morn. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
And so in this coming year, we give up any idea of lack or limitation, and we know that abundance is ours before we even know the need is there. So if you would, let's join hands if you're able or willing. If somebody doesn't want to hold hands, don't hold hands. But we're going to form a circle and join in singing our peace song. Or a semicircle, or an oval.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. We are one holy family. We celebrate our oneness and honor our diversity. And please join me in our closing affirmation. Please hold these words throughout the week. I release and I let go. Together, I release and I let go. And so it is. Please take time to greet each other, love each other, see the Christ light in each other, dance, hug, genuflect, whatever feels right.